Good morning. Welcome to the JoyNews desk. My name is Kenneth Jesse. We're live from our studios at Kokomlemle in Accra. Coming up this morning, President Akufo-Addo reassures the international community of Ghana's unwavering commitment to upholding human rights despite the recent passage of the Anti-LGBTQ bill.
Say that I have learned that today a challenge has been mounted at the Supreme Court by a concerned citizen. It will be as well for all of us to hold our hands and await the decision of the court.
We have details on that for you. Also coming up this morning, commercial drivers in the country insist they will increase fares by 30% from the 7th of March.
Abanika say, my aunt to friend anymore. Then drivers want to hear break. Because see us will increase for now.
In our Ghana Month series, we take you to the Jamadudu Museum, an unfinished legacy of Ghana's slave liberation struggle and Ashanti cultural renaissance. Details of that and many other stories coming up in the next hour. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Stay tuned. Welcome to the program. President Akufo-Addo has reassured the international community of Ghana's unwavering commitment to upholding human rights despite the recent passage of the Anti-LGBTQ+ bill. Addressing concerns during a diplomatic engagement, the president emphasized Ghana's consistent adherence to the rule of law and respect for human rights throughout its history. The president clarified that the bill is currently facing a legal challenge at the Supreme Court, and therefore, until a decision is reached through due process, no action will be taken by his government regarding the private member's bill. The International Monetary Fund has declined to comment on the anti-LGBTQ bill passed by Parliament because it has not yet been signed into law by President Akufo-Addo. According to the fund, it is yet to undertake an economic and financial assessment of the law on the country. The Bretton Woods institution made this known earlier.
Your Excellencies, I'm aware that last week's bipartisan passage by Parliament of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill on a private member's motion has raised considerable anxieties in certain quarters of the diplomatic community and among some friends of Ghana that she may be turning her back on her hitherto enviable, long-standing record on human rights observance and attachment to the rule of law. I want to assure you that no such backsliding will be contemplated or occasioned. I think it will serve little purpose to go at this stage into the details of the origin of this proposed law, which is yet to reach my desk. But suffice it to say that I have learned that today a challenge has been mounted at the Supreme Court by a concerned citizen to the constitutionality of the proposed legislation. In the circumstances, it will be as well for all of us to hold our hands and await the decision of the court before any action is taken. The operation of the institutions of the Ghanaian state will determine the future trajectory of the rule of law and human rights compliance in our country.
Joy Business editor George Wiafi joins me in the studio with more on this and the underlying implications on the country's finances. George, good to have you in the studio. We already know that we're likely to lose more than $3 billion. What more do we have to know?
So that has to do with projects that are supposed to be funded by the World Bank. So for us at Joy Business, we wanted to get some clarity, the implications of this when it comes to Ghana's program.
Right.
We sent an email to the fund asking for clarity on our program and funding. But what they sought to explain to us in the mail is that as long as this anti-gay bill hasn't been passed into law, they don't have any comment on it right now. They also would like to comment after an economic and financial assessment has been done on Ghana's economy. So as in the particular bill and what will be their reaction they don't have any comment on it. But they also sought to remind us as an institution what they stand for in terms of their values and against any discrimination and all the rest. And that's what they sought to explain to us in the email. So engaging them and from what they said in the email, it is not clear for now that if we go ahead to sign this bill, there will be any serious repercussions for the economy and all that, because they didn't give any indication of that sort in the email that we sought to get some clarity on what will be the impact on Ghana's program and donor support to Ghana.
What you're trying to say is that they have not made clear yet because they feel that it has not been assented by the president until it's done.
Unless it's done that way, then they could tell us that, okay, because of this, and then we could also say that is the implication. But even if you go through the fund program, there isn't anywhere in the program that says this. But don't forget that our program is not just about the IMF. There are other partners on board. One of the reasons why we are getting this $300 million from the World Bank for the first quarter, it's part of the financing assurance coming from all these partners for Ghana's program. So even if you see the statement that the Ministry of Finance sent to the presidency, they also sought to explain that they don't have any clear directive from the fund that when you do this, but rather their concern is about the other donor partners and what could be their response. So from what we got from the fund in terms of the email, there isn't any clear statement that sought to suggest that if we do this, this will be the implication. They are saying that if you want us to get the direct implications of what will be our response, let it be passed into law or signed into law, then we'll come and give you our response and whether you will get Fund A or Fund B or that.
George, do we have a precedent of this? Do we know countries that, have passed these stringent laws and are still under an IMF program?
A quick scan, you could see that, as in the word stringent, I cannot independently verify now, but I think you can talk about Zambia that has a similar law. There are other countries that has similar laws. I remember there was an incident in Kenya where the Supreme Court had to rule and say that you have to respect human rights and all the rest. So it appears that we've not seen any country that the fund has said that because you had put in place this law, we will draw our funding. I think the concern has rather been from the World Bank when it comes to, there was a Uganda situation where they threatened that if they go that way, funding could be affected. I remember the past World Bank country director, there was a statement that was issued to the effect that Ghana should tread cautiously in going this way because of the impact on funding for Ghana. So I don't think that per the fund program or the IMF program, there's any example elsewhere that because country A went that way, they have withdrawn funding. I think rather, if there's any situation right now, the impact of continuous support from our partners has to do with the World Bank program. And just to get a bigger picture, for an IMF program, there are several partners that are on board. You have the World Bank, you have donor partners that also contribute to the program. So the funding component from the IMF itself is just a fraction from the whole total funding that we are going to get being under the fund program. Don't forget that the fund is giving us somewhere a little over $3 billion. World Bank is coming on with some almost about $2 billion or so. You have Germany and the other European Union partners also coming on board. So it's a total funding thing. And that is why the Ministry of Finance, the statement said that, well, they are worried about how the other donors react in terms of the success of the IMF program, and not the IMF itself and its institutions saying that because of this, we wouldn't extend support to you, country Ghana.
Let's look at some of the donors. Do we know how they have reacted in an incident like this before?
I think that it has to do with the World Bank and outside the Uganda situation about their reaction. In terms of the country specific, I still don't have any clear indication that Germany said that because of this, they have pushed the human rights angle. And you realize that it's sometimes more of a threat than actually being done. And sometimes discussions could delay on the program and the facility, and you know that it is because of this. But as I speak right now, we also can independently verify that there were individual countries that said that because you have gone that way, we are withdrawing funding. There's more of a threat, and sometimes these countries have gone back to soften their stance in terms of the sentence that have been given to these people and all the rest. So there isn't any, I think that if you go through the Ministry of Finance advice to the president, there's more of a caution and a worry that looking at the current state of our economy, if they should go that way, these are the implications for the economy.
All right, George Rafe is Joy Business Editor. here at the Multimedia Group. Thank you very much. So let's take a look at the response from in the International Monetary Fund briefly, and it says, diversity and inclusion are values that the IMF embraces. Our internal policies prohibit discrimination based on personal characteristics, including but not limited to gender, gender expression, or sexual orientation. Like institutions, diverse and inclusive economies flourish. We are watching recent developments in Ghana closely. We cannot comment on a bill that has not yet been signed into law and whose economic and financial implications we have yet to assess. So this was what George Wiafe was talking about. Of course, we bring you more on this conversation, but in the meantime, the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, has expressed concerns about the safety and well-being of his family. Speaking on PM Express with Evans Mensah, the ECG boss said there have been threats on his life and that of his family due to the recent power outages. The managing director further emphasized that the challenges he faces are often exacerbated when false accusations are made against him or the power distribution company.
Even before the show, I told you where to find what rate was used. And I told you point blank that on this show, I don't want to be seen here trying to defend myself, because everybody will have their day.
Okay.
This is they took to Twitter to do what they wanted to do. Let everybody have their day, because let's be fair. Let's be fair.
But this is your day. Well, where else?
No. I will not use this media because I am under. They could have come to me under RTI. Evans, my doors are always open.
Okay.
You can
so they've written formally.
You can ask every single person. You never say you called me and I didn't pick up.
Okay.
If you've seen something like this, why don't you call me for the requisite explanation?
But you're confirming that they have filed an RTI request with your office?
I haven't received a copy yet. Have they filed it?
Okay.
If they have filed it, then I'm waiting to receive a copy.
Okay.
And I will respond to it diligently.
Okay.
Because we are getting to a point in our country's life that waking up in the morning and brandishing things that are not true is not fair. I told you something. Doing this job is not the easiest thing. To have your life being threatened, to have your life of your kids and all of that, putting it in limbo, it's not fair. So has
that happened to you?
My brother, yes. And you know, the funny thing is, it's always when it's about people complaining that somebody has taken some amount of money or something has been moved. It's not fair. Get the facts right.
Okay.
There are people's reputations at stake here. You just don't sit down the swing of a bat. Just say what you've seen when you haven't even verified. Because I believe strongly when you find something, you give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Mm. Meanwhile, former Energy Minister Amakofi Boa says the ECG has been helpless in the execution of its mandate.
Well, I wish my good friend, the ECG MD, were focused on the challenges ECG has. And I'll talk about ECG challenges. ECG is the weakest link in the value chain. It's the biggest headache in the energy sector. And it's a fact. If you recall, what causes doomsday is not always one thing. It could be generational shortfall, the issue of fuel, and financial challenges in getting some of these things done. So it's always all these factors coming together to create doomsday. Today, as we speak, and I'm happy the MB is on. Today, as we speak, the reason we don't have a generational shortfall and say that we don't have doomsday in terms of generational shortfall is that the MD of ECG rushes to buy heavy fuel oil for AXA today. The only reason why AXA is operating is that ECG bought AXA heavy fuel oil to operate. Sometimes in the midst of crisis, we rush, but there are bigger issues, and those are the bigger issues that are confronting us. And so
but at least you accept that as we speak, the erratic power supply is not because of lack of money to buy gas.
By the time I finish, you probably get a better answer. In the last few days, we've had problems. And I said the problem we are facing now is leadership, management problem, both financial and technical. Today, as we speak, for example, TAPCO in Takoradi was shut down because they wanted to fix a rotor problem. It's taking 4 months for that rotor to come in. It just arrived today. So, for example, if a decision that we knew would take 4 months to happen, if probably in hindsight, we wouldn't have shut down the plant.
Well, let's take you back to our earlier story concerning the anti-LGBTQ bill, and international relations expert Ishmael Hulova joins me via Zoom with some perspectives on this development. Ishmael, one will ask, why will a sovereign state like Ghana be worried about passing a bill and then, be worried about the international community, the IMF and the World Bank, what they have to say about this?
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. In as much as Ghana is a sovereign nation, Ghana interacts and of course, depend on other nations in the global setting. And as such, other players within the global community will interact or react to certain developments within Ghana, which they perceive not to be in their interest. So right. All the responses that we are seeing from the World Bank, the U.S. Embassy, are all part of those international responses to development that they think have the ability to influence their interests.
We could also talk about the Arab states. We know of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, who have stringent measures when it comes to the laws on gays and all that. But these are countries that do business with the United States, the World Bank, and so on and so forth. Is this not some sort of discrimination, or is it because we are not self-sufficient enough? That's why we're being detected too, sort of?
Yeah, it has to do with your economic clout. Those countries that you have mentioned, regardless of their position on the issues of LGBTQ plus right, the United States and other parties will do business with them because of the resource that they have, and because they have been able to translate those resources into wealth. And therefore, they have a little bit of flexibility in terms of their international conduct. And normally, international relations, your economy, how strong your economy is, determines to a large extent your ability to pursue independent foreign policy options. And of course, when you look at Ghana, this reaction is also because of Ghana as a country, which has been seen by the West as one of the most friendly and one of the key supporters of human rights in the South region. So if you have Ghana, which has been seen as a partner in the promotion of human rights, passing a bill that they perceive or in their construction goes against the tenets of human rights, then you have some of these opposition and diplomatic efforts to put pressure on the country.
The president, Nana Akufo-Addo, who is yet to assent to the bill, spoke for the very first time in public concerning this bill and said that Ghana is going to reassure the international community of its unwavering commitment to upholding human rights. And despite the recent passage of the anti-LGBTQ bill, does it appear that the president wants to sort of appease the international community and is unlikely to pass the bill?
Yeah, being president means that he doesn't have the free environment that some of us have, and we could make comments the way we are making it. He has to be very tactical in some of the utterances that he makes, because he still need the international community in terms of carrying out his agenda. Here, even in Ghana, there are two issues of interest, of our national interest, that are conflicting with one another. One is the preservation of our cultural values, and two is the promotion of our economic interest. Now, when you look at it carefully, we have pursued the goal of economic diplomacy for a very long time, particularly under the Fourth Republic. So we have always tried to make use of available international resources as much as possible to promote local economic development. Where our economy is now, it's not that independent to be able to withstand without some of the aid aid and assistance that the other nations give to us. So the president is being tactical in the sense that in as much as he has to appear to be dealing with the domestic pressure on him to sign the bill, he must also reassure the international community of Ghana's commitment to human rights. In fact, when you talk about human rights, it is not only the right of LGBTQ plus people that we're talking about. In fact, Ghana still has significant and respect for human rights. There are rights that are enshrined in our constitution. And even this, the people who are actually opposed to the bill still have the right, as it were, to go to court. So yes, he's right when he said that, yeah, we still respect human rights. We are respecting, in this context, the right of those people who are opposed to the bill to go to the court and seek justice. That is a right that is being respected. So the fact that this bill has been passed doesn't mean that all of a sudden all the progress on human rights have been thrown aside. Indeed, we still maintain our core commitment to a lot of issues on human rights, including the right of minority groups. So I think that he is playing what we call the two-level game. In as much as you want to keep your domestic situation calm, you must also not throw away the international community. You still need them somehow to carry out the agendas we want to carry in Ghana. And of course, he, as the president, is in quite a tight position because of how we have conducted foreign policy in the recent past, where we are clear to be very pro-West.
Right.
So that you look at our stand on some of the global issues, it means that we have virtually become more aligned to the West. So it gives them more leverage to put some of this pressure on you, because then you are considered as one of their own, and you being a big player in the promotion of democracy and human rights in this sub-region, you falling into this kind of issue means that other players within the region, other minor players, they want to follow your footsteps if they don't put the pressure on you. So the pressure is something that I think even the framers of the bill had envisaged, and of course you expect more of it. So as it is, yes, I think he made the right call by trying to reassure the international community of our commitment to human rights. The fact that this bill has been passed doesn't mean that we have thrown away every other aspect of human rights. There are more rights that the Ghanaian state is protecting.
Right. Ishmael Hlover is an international relations expert. Thank you very much. Moving on to other stories this morning, commercial drivers in the country are insisting they will increase fares by 30% from the 7th of March. They have cited the rising cost of spare parts and fuel among the reasons for this increment. In an interaction with my colleague Sweetie Abochi, the drivers say they will embark on a demonstration if the Transport Ministry refuses to give them the go-ahead to implement the new prices.
Say Amanika say mayan to fe ni mo a ye drivers won so ye bre because here say we increase fuel na affect oil and tax and spare parts abasa affect ye drivers no so adwuma ne ye so ye nya hwe what to move first one na to mu no I see ye increase lot fare no wo se me ye nye ye demonstration so mo ampena me anye dey am me anye but you see what say increase fuel ni biem. That's a increase fair na kasa me anya esa na driver ye ho che because fuel na watu mu no eno amu na ye beto oil free mu eno amu na ye be so side dey free mu eno ye be ye betu ye mate kan so ye so kaka so ye be dey ye bedi and so increase fuel na ni how bia na esa na de so driver so be na ye dey na ye dia mai and je be sra ban no se be bia watu fuel no ma wakwakodu no onti ase ni so intimi increase fair no se na be yin ho be dey e ba hin ha esa drivers ye ho che too much. Mommy.
Well, he's saying that is the increment in fuel prices and other things that's accounting for it. So if the government is saying, or the ministry is saying that they shouldn't increase the transport fares, then they are handicapped because they will not break even.
Sisi aso enoma boya din. Didi kan spare parts boya din. Ka una for omo blepa omo yade. Ka boya din. Sisi a obi to car de maun. Se fa ye adwuma. Before se ka una be siesie ka na maun na sika akoshe kanum na nyesika ketwa. Etino aban entiasema ye na also onjo so ma na yesu yentimi ntum ontum na yesu yentimi nya bi emfa hwe ye le ne ma sisi adan boy den ye be ha dan ye make school bibia boy den na da bia ye de ya do ba fo ye tie ABCD na se ye de ye nko ye nim da na eti ye ne aban no enya adwen e wo de wo ye no ho ye nyina ye o man ye dia ye pese o man ko nanim se se watu fuwe 2 times enche me ye sure class enche ko ba sa atum bio
end of this month obesa increase for na de bia drivers ye zero sa and you can say etimi banesa I don't know increase kakra no adjust kakra na ye so etimi akoyani.
Well, passengers have also been sharing their thoughts on the impending increment.
I think a 30% increment is too high. If there will be broader stakeholder engagement to sit down and discuss into details, matters arising, and if the government can also subsidize the fuel or reduce some taxes or even scrap away some taxes from it so that we, the passengers, will be free, because increment in transport fare affects every commodity and it's going to affect the economy. We are in the hard times. So to me, I think there should be reduction.
Basically, it's like with the current economic trend in the country, fuel prices definitely will go up. But if the drivers are responding with a 30% increase in fare prices, I think it's reasonable, because no businessman or woman wants to go into a business that you will make a loss at the end of the day. The government should be able to step in and probably help with the fuel prices as far as the drivers are concerned.
Well, in our Ghana Month series, we take you to the Jamadudu Museum, an unfinished legacy of Ghana's slave liberation struggle and Ashanti cultural renaissance. My colleague Clinton Yaboa highlights how the museum and the construction could facilitate the acceptance of ancestral culture and economic development of Kwabre Himan in the Ashanti region. In today's feature, he reports that despite several historical attractions that re-echoes human slavery and liberation in Ghana, the Jamadudu Museum in the Ashanti region could have the potential to become a powerful hub of cultural heritage and reflect historical slave liberation.
In the quiet town of Besianse in the Adjoso traditional area, a deep history of rich culture and the ancient memorial is gradually getting buried in modernity. An aspect of the rich Ashanti culture which struck the early European visitors to this area was the distinct building style. All were impressed with the construction, with the design, the cleanliness and the comfort of these traditional courtyard houses, which they regarded as being well adapted to the particular climate and the particular condition of life in this area. We are here at the Besianse Shrine House in the Adjoso traditional area. The unique features of these buildings are embedded in their style, method of construction, traditional motifs, and rich colorization of walls and practice of traditional religion. Ironically, the only 10 buildings that have survived till today are shrine houses of some powerful deities who have interceded and protected the Asantis. This site at Besianse in the Adjoso traditional area houses the Yautano deity, which is profoundly revered in the Asante worship, a depiction of the traditional character of vernacular Asante's architecture. Francis Kwayiri is the Ashanti regional head of Ghana Museums and Monuments Board.
For Ashanti culture, drumming and dancing is a crucial aspect of Ashanti culture. And so this place was dedicated, to the singers, and then the space over there was dedicated for the cooks, that is the kitchen, and then the drummers also have their space over there. And so this central courtyard here was used for performance by the priest, who at the time was one of the most important people in Ashanti culture.
The Asante buildings were built in the wattle and daubed technology. First, a framework made of vertical timber posts linked together by horizontal members constructed around a mat platform. This is then plastered from both sides with clay. The resting walls have thickness of about 25 centimeters. Looking at these complex designs, it is evident that a lot of patience and skills are required. The architecture often consists of 4 triangular buildings and steep thatched roofs enclosing a courtyard. The high steeped pitched roof at angle of 60 degrees allows for very good efficiency and durability of the thatched roof and also ensures adequate protection of the entire building. However, in the last century, corrugated iron has replaced thatch, cement replaced the mud plaster and corp or massive mud walls, while mud bricks masonry have replaced the wattle and daubed technology. Gerard Chiom, expert heritage management of the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board, explains the environmental and climate significance of the building.
This type of architecture is adapted to this climate. First of all, this is something we've forgotten. You know, you can spend the day here, and you will never sit under the sun, right? So there is a careful observation of sun, the movement of the sun, and so on. So this architecture is very well adapted to the tropical environment in Africa. Look at the roof, the slope of the roof, very well adapted to the rain. All right. Look at, as I said, the space and the sitting space. You know, always in the shadow, always protected from the sun. So this architecture is valuable. Not only because it's a relic of the past, and we definitively are interested in knowing more about the past, but also because it has probably something to bring to us and to the future.
The outlines of the designs on the walls are formed from edgings of thin stripes of cane and then carefully covered with clay. The elaborate ornamentation was used for palaces, homes of worthy citizens, and shrine houses.
The kind of building that was adopted for these kind of people, especially the kings, the queens, the priests, were very unique and adorned with different decorations and adinkra symbols. And each of them have its own meaning, and they sort of speak to certain cultural and social norms within the society. There are the stories and the narratives behind the tangible things that you see. The meaning of some of these designs and symbols are essential part of the intangible cultural heritage. Okay, so each of these symbols have its own meaning, and in order to be able to interpret heritage, you need a documentation of these ones.
Despite technological advancements in the architectural landscape, limited research and discoveries have been made into indigenous building qualities that have stood against time. The 10 old Asante traditional architectural style buildings have been acquired for preservation as national monuments since 1964 by the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board and were listed as World Heritage Property by the UNESCO's World Heritage Committee in 1980. French ambassador to Ghana, Jose Amand Anyamboso, believes modern architecture can reconcile with the qualities old architectural elements bring to bear.
There are some methods, some techniques that were not only valuable but are still very, very efficient. So definitely, I think that the techniques, especially what I saw, the explanation of Francis, could inspire. I'm sure that they know about, but they can be very inspiring by coming here to see again, for some of them to learn about these traditional buildings techniques, and that will be definitely very, very interesting to mix, because the modern world also need to learn a lot from the African continent.
Reporting for JoyNews, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Let's take you live to Parliament now, where the newly appointed ministers of President Akufo-Addo are being vetted. But before we take you there, though, students of Mawuko Girls Senior High School have raised concerns over the quality of food they are served under the free senior high school feeding program. Some of the concerns the students raised include lack of balanced diet, repeated type of meal, and weevil-infested food, amongst others. The reactions are coming in at the back of the release of the trailer of the latest JoyNews investigative piece titled Empty Plate, the Free Senior High School Promise, which reveals an acute shortage of some food items in many senior high schools across the country. We'll tell you and hear from the students shortly, but first hear excerpts of the investigative report.
Sometimes they'll give you Gary, don't give you this. They'll give you this, they don't give you the Gary. So a school that is not having even 900 students is supposed to have 3 bags a day to feed 900 students.
Every night, these children go to bed burdened with thoughts about what they will eat when they wake up to a new day.
It's all about the quantity, the geology, and then the amount of sauce they serve per table. They are sitting with it very soon. Some people don't even get sometimes.
It is no fault of theirs that the government that promised their parents free education is unable to provide enough food to feed their youthful appetites.
And sometimes kinky. The kinky they give us stew or sugar with blowfish.
Empty Plate, the free as you just promised. Coming soon on JoyNews.
So those were excerpts of our upcoming documentary. We can now listen to Malco Girl students who say they are fed weevil-infested food among several other concerns.
The food we eat, because something counts your blessing, and the count your blessing is opposite. The way it is not good at all, and we have something gas and rice. The way the rice is not nice at all. It's not nice.
They claim they give you guys 3 square meal every day. Do you get it? 3 meals?
Yes.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
Yes.
You get them?
Yes.
Do you get a balanced diet of the food?
We don't have fish, egg, nothing. Nothing like protein inside. Only flour mixed with oil. Nothing. We don't get breakfast. Breakfast is not good. We don't have anything like nothing. There's no sugar, milk. Nothing is packed.
Oh, okay.
So the meal is not balanced.
So you have to bring your sugar?
Yes, you need to bring your sugar to the dining room.
And your milk and your bread?
Yes.
Bread too?
Sometimes they give us bread, yes. But sometimes you'll be eating and see stones and things in the food. And sometimes the food...
Is it a balanced diet?
It's balanced diet. Sometimes you can be eating banku for a month. Yes, afternoon and evening, every day. Afternoon, evening. For the past 3 weeks, I've been eating rice till now. Yes, rice.
Really?
Just rice without nothing.
Rice and gas. Just rice?
Rice and gas. The gas is mixture of, will I say?
Do you get fish or meat or something?
Nothing like
egg? No protein.
Nothing.
And then the porridge they give us like
no milk. Sometimes the milk
one you have to share it with 10 pantries. One to milk. You pour it like a drop. What 10 pantries.
Yeah.
Then the beans to provide your own gari. And the beans to like lazy.
Sometimes you get to the bowl, there is no food, so go and depend on your troubles.
Well, some parents have also weighed into the discussion, unleashing their anger at the Ministry of Education over the development as they demand an immediate action to rectify the situation.
To your children, and you have to find a teacher or somebody who lives in the school to cook for your child at your own expense. And they are sitting telling us what? You look at the children when they come back from school, how lean they have grown. It's like we are punishing them just because of politics.
When media bring out a report, you are coming out that you have gone to do investigation. In which school? We pay so much money in feeding our children every day.
Every week, I have to send him close to 100 CDs to supplement the food he takes from the dining hall. And they tell you that you are told to come with your own bread and sugar and sometimes milk. The situation is very bad. What is the essence of this free education?
Which school is your child in? What's the situation there?
Very bad. Look, if you ask her now, she can't go to toilet because there's no balanced diet.
But I think there's no perfect sense in this way. And I think we have to slow down a bit for the government because all over the world there's no perfect system.
And there are teachers in the campus of schools who are taking advantage of this and they are cooking what the children call illegal food. So if somebody sits here in Accra and tell you that the children are being fed well, I think it is so crazy that they shouldn't get us annoyed.
We can now take you live to Parliament, where President Akufo-Addo's newly appointed ministers are being vetted.
Business in the hospitality. I thought Chairman has asked me to ask the last one. Yes. You know, he's my friend. Yeah, so it has to do with the high cost of doing business in the hospitality industry. And I've just cross-checked. If you go to Marriott's hotel in Nigeria, as compared to Ghana here, their rates are better than our rates. Now, we met with stakeholders in the industry, and they are attributing this to multiplicity of taxes and levies, high tariffs in respect of electricity and water, and also a problem of getting credit to be able to expand their businesses. And even when they get it, the cost of borrowing is high. And so that is what is making them uncompetitive. What will you do to ensure that our hospitality industry become competitive so that we are able to attract many more investors? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that I've also heard about the multiplicity of regulations, fees and levies, and so it's important for us to work with the relevant ministries, departments and agencies to harmonize those regulations, taxes and levies so that at least there's some ease of administration. I believe that that will go a long way in helping them reduce their cost of doing business. Again, the utilities that you mentioned, I know that coming from the Ministry of Energy, a lot of work has gone into reducing even the bands that business operators were operating in, that then made the usage of electricity more expensive the more your consumption falls within a certain bracket. Thankfully, under the auspices of the Honorable Minister, PURC has worked to reduce the bands to only 2 as we speak. And the intention is to try and get to only 1 band by end of year. So that just like when you go to the filling station and you buy a liter of fuel for a fixed price, every kilowatt hour of electricity that you consume, regardless of the volume that you buy at the filling station, same is replicated in the power space. And we believe that that will also go a long way into reducing their cost. Of course, the credit issue, I'm sure that as the economic fundamentals improve, cost of borrowing then becomes less expensive for the operators. And so we would see how we work together with the other ministries that are involved in the space to create that environment for the businesses that operate in the tourism space to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Nominee, congratulations for this, your nomination.
Thank you.
And we're happy to receive you this morning. I have a fundamental question that has to do with an observation made by the Committee of Parliament for the Sector Ministry. Now, the last 2024 Joint Committee report for Trade and Tourism, they made a fundamental observation that 33% of the IGF relating to the Bureau of Ghana Languages was approved for them to retain for the fiscal year 2023. Unfortunately, the observation made was that this 33% retention that was approved by Parliament for the Bureau of Ghana Languages was not given to them by the ministry. And you know that this Bureau of Languages play a very critical role in our culture, in the development of the Ghanaian languages, and so forth and so on. So, if you are given the nod, what are you going to do to ensure that this 33% is increased? Because they made an observation that the 33% is even woefully inadequate. And unfortunately, they didn't even get that 33% that was approved by Parliament. So if you are given the nod, what are you going to do to ensure that this is reviewed and the right budgetary allocation and retention is given to them for their development? Thank you.
Chairman, this is something that I have to look into because it's my understanding that the IGF is not generated at the ministry. It's generated at the entity or the agency itself. And so how their funds that they've generated ends up with the ministry such that the ministry doesn't release it to them is a little surprising to me, but I have to look into it. But beyond that, the issue of approvals for retention, I'm sure that we are all very much aware of the processes that the Ministry of Finance goes through during the budget approval processes to approve the allocations that are then given to ministries, departments, and agencies. And so if a case is made that the retention percentage is low, it is possible for them to review it. And so I'll look into it, and then if the management convinces me that this is something that has to be increased, then we can then make the case, obviously, if I'm giving the nod to the Ministry of Finance to look at increasing the percentage so they can retain more of the IGF to run the operations. Thank you.
Honorable, kindly let me do a follow-up on this one. Honorable Minister, when we say retain, how does it happen that you have to send it to a ministry before you go and ask for it?
Mr. Chairman, that's why I said that is surprising to me, because I have the same understanding as you have, that if the agency generates the money, then it retains the percentage that has been approved for it. But my understanding from the question was that in this case, the funds ended up in the ministry and the ministry failed to release it to them. So I have to look into it to ascertain why it is that that situation arose in the first place. Thank you.
Well, I actually know that that's why I raise it here. We members of Parliament have approved a regulation which says retains means send it to the ministry and request for it. I don't know what it means.
No, I didn't.
Right, Honorable Chairman, you are 100% right. The retention should have been kept at the agency, but usually they pay it into the consolidated fund. Then now they will struggle with the Minister of Finance to get their releases. And it's pervasive. It cuts across everywhere. But my second question has to do, I'm sure the nominee would have averted his mind to the budgetary allocations for 2024. Now, you realize that we have about 5 items, and what is surprising, which was raised at the committee level, was the tourism product development. In 2023, an amount of 102 million, about that, was allocated for tourism product development. And that has to do with spreading out the products to other regions, other communities, and things like that, which is very important. And unfortunately, this year, this product development was reduced from 102 million to about 13 million, which speaks volumes. Because the implication is that you will not be able to spread and take advantage of other tourism sites that requires your attention. So if you are given the nod, with this restriction that has been given to you by the minister and by Parliament, because it has been approved by Parliament, what are you going to do to spread tourism to other regions and other constituencies that require your attention? I am saying this with special reference to the Gambaga scab. It's been hanging for a while. You know, the Nigerian wall has been hanging for a while in my constituency. You know, at the committee level, we have raised several of such.
Honorable, your commentary should wait when you get on the floor.
So, Mr. Minister, nominee, can you tell us what you are going to do to address this this challenge?
Mr. Chairman, I need to look at the detailed budget that was approved for the various components that the member refers to. But looking at the budget approvals that were, or allocations that were made for the ministry over the past 4 years, I observed that year on year their budgets are increased generally. And to my surprise, for the tourism ministry, their releases were almost equal to the allocations that were made for them on a year-by-year basis from 2021. I know that most ministries do not enjoy that kind of level of releases. And so I was pleasantly surprised that indeed the Ministry of Tourism gets all the allocations that are made for them during the year. But we'll look into it. I'm sure that there was some basis. It's entirely possible that in 2023, there were some specific projects or programs that the ministry had earmarked to embark on, for which resources were allocated for them, which is not being repeated this year. But like I said, I need to look at the detail together with the officials of the ministry to make a determination as to why, and of course, within the constraints of the approvals, see what it is that can be done to implement the programs that have been approved for the year. Thank you.
My last question. Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Nominee, and you realize that this particular budgetary allocation, I understand that you have not looked at it, but I'm just giving you information. I have the committee report here, and I'm speaking to the figures. Now, this budgetary allocation given to you is going to give you a lot of challenges as far as maybe your personal plan and the plan of the ministry to spread tourism to the corners of our nation is concerned. You are going to have a challenge. But I want to find out, will you look at leveraging with the trade ministry to take advantage of the 1D, 1F to spread tourism product development to other communities that you would have want to, but due to budgetary constraints? Will you want to look at that linkage between your ministry and the trade ministry to take advantage of 1D, 1F to spread tourism development? Thank you.
Chairman, it's not something that I've vetted my mind to, but obviously if it's a suggestion that is coming from honorable member, it's something that I'll be happy to look into to see whether we can leverage on any relationship or collaboration with any ministry to ensure that we are able to develop our tourism to the next level. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Japamesa, congratulations.
Thank you.
May I ask, how are you going to use your experiences to promote the creative industry in our country, to reduce the number of legal battles and others that they go through? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, as a trained lawyer, I believe that one of the skills that I have is to help in dispute resolution. And so if there are disputes within the sector, especially in the creative art space, then I'm sure that my 20 years
experience at the bar will come in handy to help me resolve some of those issues amicably. Thank you.
Now, leadership. You're not a member of the committee, are you?
This week is International Women's Day.
Please. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Ejepa Mesa, congratulations.
Thank you, my brother.
Your CV is a 10-page document, and I notice almost 4 pages is on conferences and capacity programs you attended. Is there any reason why you spend 40% of, you want to tell us about yourself, and 40% is conferences and capacity building you attended?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure the pages necessarily represent a certain percentage of my life. Within the of course, I mean, we all know the value of capacity building and conferences that then helps you apprise yourself of best international practices that then you deploy to your work. The sector that I've worked in over the past 4 years is one that required that we engage in that kind of activity. Of course, I partook in some capacity building activities prior to that role, and to give a comprehensive outlook of all the work that I've done, all the conferences that I've attended. That's why you see the number. But I believe that if you look thoroughly at the conferences that I've attended, enriching my work and output whilst assisting my minister at the role. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mesa. Of course, until recently you were a deputy minister. You are now appointed as a substantive minister. Obviously, it means the president found your capacity to be on your own. That is why he appointed you as a substantive minister, though at a different ministry. In an answer to one of the questions relating to the National Cathedral, you suggested that the country needed to continue funding the National Cathedral. With the myriad of problems you find or you are told about the tourism ministry, when you are given the nod, will you be confident enough to walk to Parliament with a budget, with a line in it, to fund the construction of the cathedral vis-a-vis all the problems that you are already aware that bother the growth of tourism in our country?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but I have only 9 or so months at the Ministry of Tourism, and I'm not sure that I've had opportunity to present a budget for consideration and approval by Parliament. Thank you.